Pull out your notebook and your pen or your notes app, whatever it is, to keep track of these major signs of neglect. The first red flag starts before you even step foot inside of the house. So before you even get out of the car, actually, I want you to look at the street. If it's midday on a Tuesday and there's zero street parking, then believe it or not, you have a problem. And I hear you. People tell me all the time, I have a driveway. Why should I care about the street? Well, don't fall for that trap because you should care. High density parking midday usually signals 3 things: over occupancy, multi-generational living, or illegal rentals in the neighborhood. It might not be a big deal to you right now, but this is something that's going to kill your resale value because it makes the neighborhood feel cluttered and cramped. So while you're still outside, the second red flag I want you to look for are their neighbors themselves. Look to see if they're maintaining their yards or if there's junk piling up outside. Because look, while you're buying the house, you're actually investing into the neighborhood. And the neighbors' houses are going to affect your investment. So you should know what you're buying into. If the neighbors clearly don't care about their own property, then they won't care if their tree branches are rotting over your roof or if their drainage is pouring directly into your foundation. If I see that the house next door to the property that I'm interested in has 4 broken down cars in the lawn, then I'm canceling the showing right away. I won't even step foot in that property and I won't advise my clients to purchase that property, no matter how good it looks. Because you can always fix your kitchen, you can always fix your bathroom, but you can't fix the house next door. The last red flag that I want you to look at before you even approach the house is the proximity trap. Look at the boundaries of the property, specifically what's behind it. Because if it's backing up to a shopping center, a warehouse, or a busy highway, then that's a red flag. The data shows that homes backing up to high traffic thoroughfares typically sell for 8 to 12% less than identical homes located just a block deeper into the neighborhood. And another thing that a lot of buyers overlook and then get surprised about later are shared driveways. In my experience, these are a breeding ground for legal disputes and maintenance nightmares. If you don't have a clear recorded survey showing exactly who owns what, then you're risking a boundary dispute later on that could stall your resale or cost you thousands in legal fees just to prove where your own yard starts. So now I want you to approach the house and look up at the roof. You're going to look for 4 specific red flags when it comes to the roof. The first one is look for shiny spots. That's a sign of shingle deterioration where the granules have basically worn off. And second, look for moss or algae growth because that means that moisture is sitting on the shingles and potentially rotting the decking underneath. Third, you're going to look at the very peak of the roof. If those caps are curling or if they're missing, then that's exactly how water gets under the shingles and into your house, causing water damage, mold, and all sorts of problems that are going to cost you money and time. Fourth, if the roof has multiple layers of shingles, it means that the homeowner took the cheap way out and just nailed new shingles over the old ones. This adds thousands of pounds of weight to the structure and significantly shortens the life of the new roof. So what does that mean for you? You're going to have a $10,000 to $20,000 fee to replace the roof soon after you move in or soon after you buy the property. Besides that, the massive trap right now when it comes to roof is solar. You might think it's a great thing to have solar panels, but if you see solar panels on the property that you're interested in, you better ask exactly when the roof underneath it was replaced. Because here's the rule. The solar should never outlive the shingles. You always replace the roof first so that the 2 systems can age together. When you skip that step, you're basically building a brand new house on a crumbling foundation. And when that old roof inevitably fails in 5 or 6 years, you're the one who's going to be stuck with a bill for thousands of dollars just to have a specialized crew come out, strip the panels, and store them while the roof is being fixed. You're paying for the same labor twice, and it effectively doubles the cost of your maintenance. It turns a smart energy move into a total budget killer. Next, as you're walking around the outside of the home, I want you to look for cracks in the foundation. And I know this is where a lot of buyers get very nervous, but not all cracks are created equal. The specific shape of the crack is what's going to tell you whether it's likely a harmless crack or if the foundation is failing and the house is literally going to pull itself apart soon. So we're specifically looking for step cracks in the brick or the concrete. If you see a crack that looks kind of like a staircase following the mortar lines, or if there is a big enough crack that you can fit a whole quarter in it, then that's not settling. That is a structural warning that the soil is shifting or the foundation is failing. The reason why you should be extra cautious is because foundation repairs aren't just a couple of $1,000s. You're most likely in the $20,000 to $50,000 range, especially if you start talking about stabilization and piers and how to fix a foundation with those types of cracks. Another huge one besides the foundation while you're outside is the chimney. Try to take notice if it's leaning even slightly away from the house. If you see a gap where the chimney meets the siding, then that means moisture has been getting in there for years. And chimneys are heavy. If they start to pull, it's a sign of massive footer issues. In addition to all of that, notice how does the ground look? Is the dirt slipping away from the house or is it going towards it? This is called negative grading, and it is the #1 cause of basement floods and foundation failure. If the land slopes towards the house, then every time it rains, you are funneling thousands of gallons of water directly into your basement walls. And speaking of rain, an inspector once told me that the best time to inspect a house is the day after it rains, so you can see if there's water leakage happening, and that stuck with me forever, so also keep that in mind. While you're looking at the ground, if you notice green plastic caps near the foundation, that's called a Sentricon termite bait system. People get scared when they see termite gear, but it's actually a green flag, and I thought it was worth mentioning in this video because it tells me that the owner was proactive. I'd much rather see a house with a professional termite contract than one where the owner just hoped for the best while wood-to-earth contact was happening in the backyard. And wood-to-earth contact is exactly what it sounds like. Basically, the siding, the trim, or the support posts are directly touching the raw soil. That's something that you do not want. Think of it this way. Wood is porous and soil is a sponge. When they touch, that wood wicks up moisture until it rots. But even worse, it creates a termite highway. These pests live in the dirt. If they can crawl straight from the mud into your frame without having to cross a concrete foundation, they will eat at your house and home before you even know that they're there. Here's the standard. You always want to see at least 6 inches of clear foundation showing between the dirt and the wood. If you don't see that gap, you have a problem. Now, before we uncover the red flags hiding behind the drywall inside the house, I want to take a quick second to ask you for a favor. If you're finding value in this red flag walkthrough, make sure you hit that thumbs up and you subscribe to this channel. It really helps me continue to bring you the investor eye perspective that you don't get from a standard listing. Now, let's go back to the house and walk inside. The second you step through that front door, I want you to pay attention to your senses because the seller is going to try to distract you immediately with high-end scents, soft lighting, and perfect staging. Don't fall for it. Here's how you can check the foundation without even going to the basement. One tip that I like to tell my clients is to carry a golf ball in your pocket. If you feel even a slight slope in the floor, especially in older homes on raised foundations, then drop the ball. If that ball starts picking up speed across the room, then your house is leaning. And sloping floors in a slab foundation house are even scarier because that usually means a major plumbing leak could be happening under the slab that washed away all of the dirt or that the ground is sinking. So after this gravity test, I want you to look at the windows. Are they original single pane or have they been updated? If they were updated, look for fogging or condensation trapped between the glass. That usually means that the thermal seal has failed and that the argon has leaked out. And unfortunately, a failed seal isn't just a cosmetic issue, it's an energy leak. Think about this, if the house has 20 windows and 10 of them have failed seals, then you're looking at a $15,000 bill right out the gate. Next, you're gonna go straight to the kitchen and the primary bath. I want you to look for 3 things: black staining, warped wood, or a musty smell. Here's why that matters. If a homeowner couldn't be bothered to fix a $10 leak under the sink, then they definitely didn't handle the big ticket maintenance items. So while you're in the cupboards, I want you to look at the pipes. Specifically, look for S-traps or accordion drain pipes. These are DIY nightmares. They are not up to code, they're a magnet for clogs, and they often let sewer gas leak right into your kitchen. In my experience, an accordion pipe is a red flag because it tells me that the owner chose a quick fix over a right fix. And you have to wonder, where else are they cutting corners? And while we're on this topic, actually, if there are large trees in the yard, then I'd immediately be thinking about the sewer line, because tree roots find water and they will crush old sewer pipes to get to that water. And a sewer backup is one of the most disgusting and expensive repairs that you can face. So if you see large oaks or maples near the front of the house, then yes, they can be really pretty, but you must get a sewer scope. Do not skip this step. All right, now we're gonna move on to the electrical panel to see what's actually powering this place. I want to see the amperage. If it's an older home with a 60 amp or a 100 amp service, then you're gonna struggle to run a modern HVAC, an electrical car charger if you have one, and a kitchen full of appliances all at the same time. I also want you to look for double tapping. This is where two wires are going into one breaker, or signs of amateur wiring. If your electrical panel basically looks like a bird's nest of loose wires, then it's proof that someone without a license was playing handyman with the most dangerous system in the house. An electrical fire is the ultimate money pit scenario. Next, we're going to look at the big ticket items like the furnace and the water heater. Look specifically for the service stickers. If the last time that a technician looked at the furnace was 2018, then that unit is likely on its last legs. And a water heater only lasts, by the way, for like 10 to 12 years. If that manufacture date on the sticker says 2012, you're basically gonna have to replace it very soon, if not immediately. Also check for corrosion on the valves and rust at the base of the tank. If you see water sitting in the overflow pan, then that tank is already failing. So after checking all of the mechanicals, we're gonna look for water damage in the basement. Look at the bottom 12 inches of the drywall or the concrete while you're in the basement. If there's like a faint horizontal stain, then this place has taken on water. I don't care if the seller says it only happened once. Once is enough to start mold growth behind the studs. If you also see 2 or 3 dehumidifiers running on full blast, or if the basement smells like a high-end candle, then I want you to be suspicious. They could be masking a moisture problem or a musty odor that the seller doesn't want you to notice. Be especially wary of freshly painted basement walls. Yes, it could just be a design choice that they happen to do right before they want to sell, or they might be covering up the evidence of efflorescence, which is basically that white powdery salt that forms when water is pushing through concrete. So in a house, the basement and the chimney are the 2 places where water does its most expensive invisible damage. So since we already looked at the basement, if the home has a fireplace, I want you to also look inside. If the chimney hasn't been used in years, then moisture has likely settled in the liner, causing it to crack and deteriorate. A new chimney liner, by the way, can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000. Also, if you see soot or smoke stains on the exterior of the fireplace, it means that the chimney is basically not drafting correctly, which is also a major fire hazard. But beyond the physical structure, we need to look at the legal and social history of the property. And one of the best ways to know if a house is a bad house is to talk to the neighbors. Most people are more than happy to tell you about the history of the house. They'll tell you if the basement flooded 3 years ago, if the previous owners were constantly fighting with contractors, or if there's a drainage issue that affects the whole block. Another key factor that I don't want you to miss, that most people do miss, is the survey. Most people don't even know where their property exactly begins and where it ends. You can find a copy of the survey at the city or the county clerk's office for a couple of dollars. And you need to know if that fence is actually on your property or if your neighbor's shed is encroaching on your land. Things like this matter. buying a house without a survey is basically like signing a contract without reading the fine print. You're agreeing to own whatever is within those lines, but without the survey, you don't even know where those lines are. So with all of that information out there, I'm curious, which of these red flags is a total deal breaker for you? Have you ever bought a house and found one of these after you moved in? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your stories so we can help the rest of the community avoid them. I read every single comment. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Haya Ali, and I'll see you in the next one.